Hi you guys, this is Nicole from My Carolina Garden. My garden is in coastal North Carolina, all the way at the bottom corner of the state. So we are transitioning into fall. Yes, even here at the bottom of North Carolina, temperatures are starting to go down and it is awesome. I'm a summer lover, so I don't really want to say that I prefer fall or anything, because I don't. The only thing I'm loving about this temperature drop is the fact that my plants are getting some relief. They are not suffering so much with the heat stress or the drought conditions, all the things we dealt with this summer, so that is what brings me so much joy. In my last video, I had talked about some top flowering plants that make our gardens pop in September. This time I'd like to talk about some top foliage plants, no flowers, but some foliage that add some dynamic color or interest to our garden. So let's jump right into it with this that I have behind me. Nope, not the banana tree, it's just so big it gets exactly in my way. Let me move the camera a little bit too. Before we take a look at this vibrant beauty, I would just like to say that if you have not already subscribed to my channel, please consider doing so, because that is the way to ensure that my videos will show up in your feed. So as I try to keep my banana tree tucked behind me, this is the plant I had to show you. This is the electric pink Cordyline. Now, a lot of the plants that are going to be talked about today for their stunning foliage are not necessarily going to be perennials. They are plants mostly that don't really love temperatures below 45 degrees. So I would say largely you're going to think about overwintering the plants if you feel like it, or maybe they're going to be treated as annuals, or who knows. But this electric pink Cordyline right here, and I mean, if you can see some of this stunning foliage, this plant has been with me for a number of years now, maybe it's 6, and I keep overwintering it. And then it comes back out here again, and this is what happens. This gorgeous, vibrant color that is absolutely unbeatable. So supposedly this Cordyline is tolerant in zones 9 and 10. I'm in zone 8, but someone did tell me that they leave their Cordyline like this out in their landscape. So I did try it. I have planted it in 2 different spots in the yard. And one thing I would also like to tell you about this plant, if you don't already know, you can propagate it easily. Yeah, isn't that so exciting? So even if you do pay for it and think you're keeping it as an annual only, here's another way that you can get a little bit more bang for your buck. If you just clip a stem of this Cordyline, like a stem of the Cordyline, you can actually just drop the stem into water, and it takes maybe 4 to 6 weeks before you're going to start to see some roots coming out of it. But this is a product of some Cordyline that I propagated myself. So I have a few of these small plants, which I intended to put into flower arrangements, and I just didn't do that, but I'm certainly holding on to these babies. And then you're gonna end up having something like this when it's with you for as long as mine has been. You will notice that my Cordyline baby here is not as vibrant in color as the Cordyline up there. And it's interesting because it does say it wants full to partial sun. This one is pretty dang crowded out by the banana tree, but it is attached to my irrigation here, so I left the pot. And the color's stunning, even though it's in the shade. This pot was sitting in shade also just right beside my house, because it was a little more tender as a baby, so I had put it there. And it does not have the color. So I'm not really sure what to tell you. If you set it out in the sun, maybe it gets even more color than that. Hard to believe. So another bit of foliage, this one was not on my list, so it's almost a little bonus here, is this purple heart plant. This purple heart that you see draping out of this entire pot, it's all the way to the ground. It's the whole way around the pot. It's huge. Same sort of deal, doesn't love the freezing temperatures. Now it will be a perennial here in my zone 8, but largely I think a lot of people use it as house plants, overwinter it, you know, all things like that. It's more of a succulent style plant. It's got very fleshy foliage to it, But do you see this purple? It's not overly common to have plants with such deep purple colors, so I wanted to just throw this one in as a bonus for another bit of beautiful foliage. I'm thinking that this plant right here is one that a lot of us are familiar with, especially for the fall, because all of a sudden you see Croton Petra in all the garden centers filling up the area. I see these, I see mums. Those are like the two main things that are all over the place. So this Croton Petra, this is another plant. It's hardy zones 9 to 11. I do not take a chance leaving this plant out in the ground or even outside if it gets below 45 degrees because all the leaves are going to fall off and it's going to be shocked. So I have overwintered this plant, same sort of deal, and I just keep it and then pop it back out into my landscape again the following year. Now the Croton Petra is really cool because it's not just colored foliage, but it's like animal print or animal skin or something. It's like really interesting colored leaves. My husband actually calls this an avatar plant because he feels like it's so cool and unique. It's like something that you would see in the movie Avatar. So this is a favorite for him. And so the Croton Petra, beautiful fall foliage. Here is another gorgeous foliage plant that you can add for pops of color, no flowers required. This is the Caladium, and what's very cool about the Caladiums now, while they used to be shade only plants, there are now varieties that tolerate sun. And for people like me who have very sunny yards, this was awesome. So the Caladiums have various colors. We have reds, we have pinks, we have green and white, all different mixes of beautiful heart-shaped foliage. So the Caladium is a favorite of mine. It does add some tropical flair, which I like. Again, its cold hardiness is not very high at all. It's like zone 9 to 11. So not keeping this in my garden, I don't think, although I have 6 of them, so I've toyed with the idea of trying to keep 3 in and overwintering 3 just to see what happens. You can dig up the tubers on these and bring them inside, so all things to consider. But the Caladium, I feel like you can't go wrong with this colorful foliage. Another really cute foliage plant that comes in different colors. So the leaves can be like purple or caramel color or red. So many beautiful things are coral bells or heuchera. I've seen lots of people with beautiful collections of heuchera, but not me. It doesn't want to grow for me. I've tried it in so many locations, my shadiest locations, tucked, kind of hidden and protected under plants. I've tried a little bit of sunnier locations. That definitely wasn't going to work. I can't grow them, but I know that heuchera or coral bells are known for their beautiful foliage. And if I could have a whole collection of them, I definitely would. My next foliage plant is a trailing plant, and it's the sweet potato vine. Sweet potato vine also comes in various colors. Like you can get them very limey or purpley. This one here is like a mix of purple and green tones. It's my favorite. I love it. It roots easily, so if it touches the ground, it will root. If you stick a pot near it and put one of the trailers in it, it'll root. This plant, unfortunately, became a victim of deer eating. So I lost a ton of foliage on it, but I was able to clip some of the branches off, reroot them into another pot there. Some of these are already bouncing back and the foliage is regrowing. So it will be fine. And when I'm going to create some arrangements and stuff, I will be able to use this. But I have a little bit more clipping to do. And then I'm going to reroot some other pieces and get it going from there. But my purpley, limey other one over here is awesome. And you see how it's got the purple veining of the stems, or the purple stems, whatever. I love it. So the sweet potato vine is a beautiful, can be beautifully contrasting to flowers. So it makes a great trailer for a flower arrangement. So maybe you have like bright yellow mums up at the top and then this darker leafed sweet potato vine trailing out. That's how I see it. So that's probably something I'm going to create. But sweet potato vines, beautiful, awesome, sweet foliage. And by the way, the sweet potato vines are sun to part shade, really hardy zones 9 to 11. So you can dig up these tubers also, or attempt to overwinter if you like. Ornamental grasses. I love it because they come out with their feathery plumes in the fall. So this grass I have over here is the zebra grass. So the foliage actually has banding stripes on it. And then this grass right here is the pink muley grass. I don't know if you can see these feathery plumes that have like a purplish pinkish tint to them. So I had bought 4 of the pink muley grass. I planted 3. This one's still waiting for me to find its home. Oh my gosh, I mean, full sun plants, very pretty color or very pretty looks. Ornamental grasses can't be overlooked, and of course there are so many varieties of that. You can get like purple fountain grass, so that's going to have just the colored foliage right from the get-go. Many choices with ornamental grasses. Artemesia. I have 2 different kinds of Artemesia. This one is called the silver brocade, and then this one here is called the silver mound. The Artemesia is a mounding perennial, so it's a spreader and a mounder. It is hardy zones 3 through 9. It likes full sun. This one is so soft and sweet and delicate. The one in the front that we saw first, the silver brocade, that one's not as like nice and soft, but both of them have the beautiful silver color. I just heard of somebody making something called a pastel garden. Their pastel garden has all these light, beautiful, unsaturated colored plants. That was intriguing to me. I usually go for things that are full of bright, saturated, vibrant color, but I'm toying with the idea of starting a pastel garden now. And if I did that, Artemesia would have to be part of it. Another bold, beautiful foliage plant is the Coleus. The Coleus is mainly a shade-loving plant, shade to part sun, so I haven't really delved into Coleus because, you know, I have all the sun. But the Coleus has many varieties of colors, and that just makes it outstanding, and you can add it into arrangements and all sorts of things. So someday I will get myself some Coleus to put into some pot arrangements. So I've talked about several major, amazing foliage plants. Hopefully I've told you about something that is new that you hadn't had before, and you can go out and get it and add it into your landscape or your flower arrangements. September is wonderful and I am loving it. Thank you to everyone for your support, your watches, your comments, all of that. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already, because that is the only way to ensure that my videos will come your way. Thank you again, and until next time, happy planting.